Welcome to Vainglory Analytics Video 12, Wasting More of Your Time. Today's video is about this question: how much do I have to play to get better at this game? The question comes about because of the vainglorious players I've talked to. I would hear them say things like this. They broke out of the hotness tier when they had a whole summer off of being a student and played all day that whole summer. Or they started streaming full-time and so they were playing tons of Vainglory. Some people even telling me they played 8 to 10 hours a day, and that's what did it for them. That's how they figured the game out and broke out of the scrub tiers. Needless to say, most of us don't have this kind of time on our hands, as you can tell by the occasional long droughts when I'm not putting up videos. So how much time does it take? Naturally, that's the kind of question you can answer with data. So I got some. I used the API to grab 500 IGNs that had played during the first week of March 2018. Then I looked up how much time each of those players had spent in-game during that week. Obviously, there's a lot of variability in this data. The horizontal axis is skill tier, so higher ranks are to the right. The vertical axis is time spent in ranked 3v3 gameplay, so more time is higher up. But what are the values on these axes? Let's look at the horizontal axis first. Each sub-skill tier, like gold, silver, bronze, is a vertical gray line. So for example, these three lines on the left are tier 1 bronze, tier 1 silver, and tier 1 gold. So this little brick at the bottom represents tier 1 and has bronze, silver, and gold parts to show the sub-tiers. On the right end, the data didn't actually include any vainglorious silver or gold players. Maybe because there are so few of them, or maybe because they're doing private scrims as pro teams, or maybe because they're all playing 5v5, I don't know. This data was captured 1 week before a season end, so maybe someone in VG Silver or Gold didn't want to play ranked matches and lose their tier right now to end the season on a nice tier. I don't know. If I captured more than 500 IGNs, I'd probably hit some VG Silver or Gold players, but I just chose 500. I also didn't have data or people in tiers 1 and 2, probably because those people haven't yet earned the right to play ranked games, and by the time they do, they're up in tier 3. I don't know. Now, the vertical axis is measured in seconds per week. What? Well, the data comes out of the API in seconds, and I captured 1 week of data, so it's seconds per week. But we can convert it. If we throw away the horizontal grid and add our own lines, we can make a new set of marks that show games per day in nice whole numbers, rather than the unreadable seconds per week units from before. For this conversion, and throughout this whole video, I'm assuming a ranked 3v3 match takes about 20 minutes. Yeah, that means there's 2 nutcases in my data set who are playing an average of 20 to 22 games per day for the whole first week of March, and another 4 people over 15 games per day. People, don't neglect your loved ones for vainglory, especially if all you're getting out of it is God Swagger bronze of all things. Ouch. Anyway, there's still way too many dots here for us to make heads or tails of this, so we need some trend lines. Let's start by plotting where the median of each skill tier is across the whole graph. So this gray line says where the middle of the data is for each tier. 50% of the people in the tier play more games per day than the gray line, and 50% play less. This is the median. We notice 2 interesting things right away. First, there's this weird dip in the data right here at tier 8 bronze. Why? Probably because people who got tier 8 bronze are so happy to have accomplished a goal of getting out of the mad chaos of the scrub tiers that they're going to rest on those laurels and play 5v5 casuals for the rest of the season. So, let's ignore that anomaly and look at the rest of the gray line. That's where we notice the second interesting thing. It generally seems to go uphill, as you'd expect. People who play more are better at the game, and you'd think that would probably be some kind of causal relationship, but we're not going to try to conclude that from this data. But just how uphill is it? Well, we can plot a line of best fit through the data, and it gives us a precise answer. Let's take a look at that red equation. The y means the vertical axis, or time, and the x means the skill tier, or really the sub-tier, counting from x equals 0 at tier 1 bronze. So let's get rid of the confusing x and y, and we'll write time and tier. While we're at it, we'll remind ourselves that the units for that equation are in seconds per week, because those were the units on the original data. But we don't want to think in terms of those units, we'd rather think in terms of games per day, so let's convert. We divide by 60 to convert seconds to minutes, then divide by 20 to convert minutes to games, then divide by 7 to convert weeks to days, and we get these numbers. The important number here is not the base value, 1.493, but the rate of 0.177 that relates tier to time. It essentially says that the number of games per day you need to add into your life to move up 1 sub-tier, like from silver to gold, is 0.177, or about 1 to 2 games per week, maybe 25 minutes of play every week. So if you're Credible Threat Bronze and you wish you were Credible Threat Silver, try adding 1 or 2 games per week into your life. On average, that's how much more the Credible Threat Silver players play than you do. Now, will that help? Well, maybe or maybe not, but that's the typical increase from one sub-tier to the next. How about if I want to go up one full tier, from Credible Threat Bronze to Hotness Bronze? You need to add about 0.531 games per day, or about 1 game every 2 days, 3 or 4 games a week, about another 75 minutes a week of your life.
Of course, this data was all captured when 5v5 was new, and therefore these 3v3 numbers might be a little small. I don't know. But anyway, let's look at this another way.
We only plotted the median line through this data, which was the line that splits the top 50% of time wasters from the bottom 50%. But we can also plot lines that split the top 25 from the rest and the bottom 25 from the rest. Quartiles is a shout out to my nerds out there. So, the middle 50% of the players in each tier, time-wise, are between the yellow and orange lines. We can think of the people above the yellow line as the unusual time wasters, and the people below the orange line as the dabblers who don't play that often. The typical people for each tier are between the two lines. They represent the typical amounts of time people in that tier spend in-game. Now, let's see how much time someone in each tier typically spends in the game. For instance, here in Tier 3 Silver, people seem to play 1 to 4 games a day, but up here in Tier 9 Gold, they play 4 to 6 games per day. Let's make a table. We can't make it for Tier 8 because, as you saw, the data was all wonky in Tier 8. But the other tiers we can summarize. What tier would you like to be? Pick it from the left column, then start playing about this many games per day. How much of your life will that cost you? Well, assuming 20 minutes per match, plus time to wait in queue and hero select and tap reward chests and maybe form a party and maybe rate the match after, let's say 30 minutes per match. So, do you have the free time shown in the right column? As an adult, I definitely cannot invest 2.5 hours per day in Vainglory. In fact, for the past year or two, I've been in these 2 tiers, and I'm playing far less than 2 hours per day on the game, so I'm pretty happy with myself. After all, maybe that should be the goal of today's episode. I'm not out to waste more of your time. I'm out to make you feel good about you. Let's leave it right there. Thanks for watching.